Hi, my name is Drew. We're going to be walking you through the Aliner LXE today. Right up front here, you're going to find a brand new interstate D-cycle battery. Biggest thing with this is just good general battery maintenance. So what that's going to entail for you is 2 or 3 times a year, we need to pull these vent panels up and refill with distilled water as necessary. So there is a clear marked water line in there. We are just aiming to maintain that water level. May not be a bad idea for periods of long-term storage to go ahead and disconnect these battery terminals and let that battery sit unconnected. 20-pound propane cylinder behind that. I find most people are familiar with these types of propane cylinders. This is the same variant you're going to find on any gas grill. Open and close valve on the top. Disconnecting it and removing it's going to be done by removing the pigtail here. Coming down to the underside, undoing these wing nuts, rotating that J-hook out of the way, and of course taking the propane cylinder to get filled. Stabilizer jacks on all 4 corners of the unit here. You'll use the corresponding crank handle to drive these down, make contact with the pavement, maybe a 1/4 turn more. Either using the included crank handle or a 3/4 inch socket, ratchet, whatever you have. Outside shower here. I find most people are somewhat familiar with these. Open and close valves there, hot and cold water. It does have a little hanger that sits there. The whole thing coils up, wraps up, and stores in this compartment here. We have your furnace vent here. Biggest thing with that is going to just be don't restrict the flow. It's an exhaust vent, let it exhaust. Other than that, of course, it blows very hot air when it's on. Wouldn't want to put anything up in front of it, it will melt it. We have your drain outlet here. No holding tanks on these A-liners for gray water, so it is just plumbed to come directly out here. Not a bad idea to pick up a reducer there for that drain plug. That'll allow you to reduce it down to a garden hose fitting if you want to go ahead and route that away from the campsite there. Back of your fridge panel here. Biggest thing with this from a maintenance standpoint is going to be using some bug screens. We're going to want to screen these vents off further to keep any mud daubers, flying insects from nesting inside the compartment there. Other than that, give it a visual inspection a couple times a year. Make sure nothing's gotten in and you'll be good to go. Tire pressure lug nuts. These tires are going to carry a 60 psi tire pressure. That's the max tire pressure rating not only on this sticker here but on the sidewall of the tire. It's very important that we do run these at the max. So max tire pressure rating there. Lug nuts have been torqued to 100 foot-pounds here in the shop. Manufacturer recommends a retorque procedure the first 10, 25, 50, and 100 miles of initial travel. We want to go ahead and retorque those lug nuts down, make sure they're not working themselves loose. Manufacturer further recommends that at the start of each trip thereon after that we do again retorque those down to 100 foot-pounds. Cable satellite inlet here. That is just a pass-through cable connection to the designated TV area of the camper, designed for, again, a park cable service or an aftermarket satellite package. 30 amp, 110 volt power supply, only plugs into the unit one way. If we go ahead and take a look, it is only going to make sense that it is accommodated one way. Once we plug that in, helps if you're lined up correctly. Give it an 1/8 inch turn to the right, that locks it in. Then you do have this secondary collar here to screw down and lock it in further. 30 foot in length. Should have no problems reaching the power poles at your camping locations. 6-gallon capacity water heater here. Now this is a propane water heater with 12 volt ignition. First off, from a maintenance standpoint, it is very important that we do keep these screened off again from the intrusion of mud daubers and flying insects. Other than that, manufacturer recommends that you specifically recommends that you do drain it anytime it is going to be in storage for more than 7 days, and of course feed 6 gallons of water into the unit separately before using. So to depressurize it, for draining, of course, give it ample time to cool down. Once you're certain that it is cooled down, you turn the hot side of any spigot on. Let that excess pressure bleed off through the hot side of the spigot. Once you're certain that the pressure has bled off, you're going to come here with an inch and a 16th ratchet and extension, back that drain plug and anode rod out. Now that anode rod is a replaceable part. Expect to get a year or two in between anode rod changes. Other than that, again, the flip side of that conversation, manufacturer wants you to push 6 gallons of water into the unit before lighting it. Again, you're going to use the hot side of any spigot to do so. So that flow is going to initially be very interrupted, very flowy. Once that flow normalizes, that is your indicator that you can go ahead and light this off. We have your potable water fill here on the left. You'll stick a garden hose directly in there, fill it up till it overflows. Once you're full, cap it off. Use the onboard water pump there on the inside to pressurize that system, draw that up to the fixtures. Your city water connection here, very important that we do use a water pressure regulator for that. One is included for with your purchase. That water pressure regulator is going to hook directly to the spigot, and then the spigot side of your hose to that, and then of course you'll connect it here to the camper, rotating this trailer brown connection here. Very important that we do reduce that water pressure. That tank that we filled via your potable water fill here is drained via this water line here. Does just have a cap on it. On the back side here, nothing too crazy, full-size spare. Stabilizer jacks there on the rears, license plate bracket, tail lights, things like that. cu.ft air conditioner here, as well as your propane grill mount. Grill is designed to from the inside it's actually going to be a secondary grill, would then be carried out, set on this mount here, and then you do have a secondary propane line here, which utilizes that quick disconnect coupler to go ahead and feed propane to that appliance. And then we have your cu.ft air conditioner. This is going to drain from these corners, although really that water is going to, or that drainage is going to choose that path of least resistance. So if you see water coming from anywhere other than the two corners, of course, don't be worried. It's just inherent of the design. A couple 110 volt all-weather outlets here. Nothing too crazy, just some 15 amp outlets. Porch light here switches directly under the fixture. Front step is up and in. Of course, it is brand new, so it is a little sticky there. As that kind of wears in, will get easy for you. It does help if you kind of use both hands equally. Cassette toilet here. Now this cassette toilet is going to have its own water supply. That is filled by this top nozzle here. This comes out. You'll fill that up with water. You do have your water level here, so this tells you how much water the appliance has. It does have a separate pump to pump that water into the bowl. We'll go ahead and take a look at that on the inside. When it comes to dumping the unit, there is a little lock that keeps everything in there. So you open that, you lift that lock up, pull the whole cassette up. It automatically closes everything so you're not staring your business in the face. From there, you can take this. It does have a handle that comes out and some wheels. You can go ahead and tote it around there. When it does come to dumping, you'll fold this guy out, remove the cap here, and then you have a little button here. You'll push that. That keeps anything from glugging on the way out. So that just feeds air to it. And then we'll put this back on. You also have a little funnel here. If you were to use that to fill the toilet up, you could do so. Once we kind of fold everything back in. Push that back in. That does get it ready for service there. Just about covers it here on the outside. We're going to hop on the inside, take a look at that stuff. All right, so coming here inside the unit, you're going to see this box here. This is actually your shower and toilet combo. So you'll start off by lifting up the lid here. Then you'll want to secure this way. So it has a little piece of Velcro, and we go ahead and Velcro that door up. And you'll see that you have these guys here. Now, these are going to hold this ring here. If I can squeeze that by there. So you snap those all around that ring there, and that holds it up there. Box is sitting outside, but you're also going to have a shower curtain and rings. They're going to connect all around this, like they're just standard shower curtains and standard household shower curtain rings. So that should make sense. And then there's your shower curtain set up there. When we actually look in the toilet here, or I should say the shower, this is of course your toilet bowl. Your flush is going to be this blue button. We saw that how we filled the water level there on the outside. This is how we fill it to flush. Always going to help keep those bad smells down by keeping some water there in the bowl. If you do choose to do that, you do just want to make sure you do flush that water into the actual tank before removing that cassette like we did on the outside. If not, that water is just going to fall straight down into that compartment. Shower is going to be a very standard shower setup. Of course, it's not put together yet, but you'll have an on-off on the actual shower head. That's going to help conserve that 6 gallons of water. 6 gallons doesn't generally translate to an exceptionally long shower, so you'll probably find yourself doing kind of a military Navy style shower in that. Turning around here, we have your sink here. So down, flat, and out is going to be the cold side of that fixture. Up and out is going to be the hot side. And then when not in use and when we're closing the unit down, we want it to be as flat as possible. The main unit switches are going to be down below here. The one all the way to the left is going to be your water heater switch. If we turn that on, water heater's up to temperature now, so it's not going to do much for us, but if we were lighting that initially, that red light there is going to come on with the switch. That really is your indicator on whether or not the water heater has lit. So if you come back 5 minutes later and that switch is, or that light is still on, that means the water heater did not light. And what you're going to do is check, make sure your bottle's on, make sure you haven't ran out of gas. Go ahead and switch that switch off, switch it back on. It should go ahead and recycle again. Switch right beside that one's going to be the water pump switch. And again, both of these switches are on when they're depressed up. So water pump switch, that's how we're operating the unit right now. We're drawing that water up from the tank into the fixtures. Of course, you have some storage here, nothing too crazy. Backside of the plumbing to the outside shower, things like that. Standard run-of-the-mill microwave here. Probably, again, somewhat familiar of this. Just like at home, does have a turntable in there, instructions. Again, very simple to navigate around. On the floor, we have the blower motor for your furnace. Of course, we'll get to the operation of that when we do get to the thermostat there on the other side of the unit. And then up top here, we have your Suburban Cooktop. This is going to operate just like any kind of basic camping stove you may have used in the past. You'll turn the burner here to light. Take a long stem barbecue lighter, put it directly onto the burner here. Once it lights, give it a few seconds to heat that thermal coupler up, and then it will go ahead and stay lit on its own. When you're closing it, and it does need to be closed before putting the unit down, fold in the wind guards there. That will allow it to fold straight down. Everything does need to be below this hinge line here. Refrigerator is a 3-way refrigerator, so it runs on AC, DC, as well as gas. On-off switch here is the first button that we come to. Go ahead and turn it on. It'll go through kind of a boot up procedure where everything will light up, then turn off, then default to the last mode. This first button next up is going to switch between gas and DC. And then this next button is going to switch between auto and gas. Now on auto, it's going to look for AC voltage if it's available. If not, it's going to automatically switch to gas or try to light on gas. And then we have your temperature control here. The higher the number goes, the colder it gets on the inside. If there is any issues with any of those sources, it's going to illuminate this check light. Here on the inside, nothing too crazy. You get a little fold down ice box. It is very typical of what you would see in a dorm style fridge in terms of size and function. Over here we have your carbon monoxide LP leak detector down there on the floor. It does have a test button, functions very much like a smoke alarm. It'll let you know any of the gases it's sensing by a combination of flashes of lights in different colors. This is going to be a 12-volt wall plate there, a 12-volt cigarette lighter style receptacle, and that pass-through RG6 cable fitting we saw on the outside. This is where they would expect you to hook up a TV if you were going to do so. And then we have your fuse panel breaker box. Beside that, everything on the right side of this box is going to be an automotive blade style fuse. Everything on the left side is going to be your 110-volt resettable light switch style breaker, just like you should have in your fuse box at home. Not a bad idea to pick up a variety pack of fuses, keep them with the unit in the event that they do burn out here. On the other side of that, we have your thermostat there. If I push this button here all the way on the left, that's going to go ahead and turn that thermostat on. First thing it's going to ask you is going to be fan speed. Your choices are low, high, and auto. If we choose either low or high, that fan's going to run indefinitely whether or not it meets that temperature or not. So a little hard to see from my angle, but we're going to kick that into auto. And then next up is going to be air conditioner. Now this is the cu.ft air conditioner that we saw on the outside. That's going to produce, it's going to blow its air through these ducts here underneath the bed. That's going to function very much like a standard air conditioner, up or down here on the thermostat to control that temperature. If we hit that one more time, that's going to take us into furnace mode. Now, if it says furnace here on the thermostat, it's indicating your gas burning furnace, which is going to be located underneath the microwave. So that's going to be your propane option for the furnace, but you also have a heat pump option, which then would be your electric heat option, which is going to be produced from the cu.ft as well. So you have two different heat options, one for off-grid, one for on-grid, and they are both located here on the thermostat. If we hit that mode button one more time, that's going to go ahead and shut the unit off and put it in standby mode. We're going to go ahead and pull this bed out and kind of set that up. This unit has a bigger bed than I've seen on most, so this bungee cord may or may not be keeping this top piece down, but if it is, you're going to go ahead and release that. You're going to go ahead and you slide this bottom piece out, and then we're going to lay these cushions down, and that gives you kind of the main bed section. Now, if you need a little bit more space, I'm going to reach behind you and get this tabletop here. We can go ahead and take this tabletop, and you have a couple ledges here, and we're going to set that up as best we can on those ledges. And then we take these back cushions and we lay them down as well, and then take this extra cushion, put him in the middle, get everything nice and tight, and there's the bed. A nice and large bed for a unit of this size. So we're going to kind of quickly reset that, and then we are going to show you how to tear everything down and put it back up. So we have your fantastic fan here. We're going to start by unlocking it, and we're going to crank it up. And then we need to choose a direction as well as a speed. So unless we choose a direction and a speed, it's not going to come on. So then you got 1, 2, 3 here. Direction, we can either exhaust air or bring it in here from the outside. We have a fuse holder here, and we have your locking mechanism here. So when we're done using the fan, we want to make sure we do go ahead and crank it down and lock it fully. And you'll just turn the locking mechanism till it stops. That's good enough. So it's some of them rotate further into that position, but this one is still locked and it's not going to come up inadvertently. All right, so when we're putting everything down, we're going to, of course, make sure everything is below the hinge line. Lights off, of course, everything below the hinge line. Windows closed, all that fun stuff. You start with the dormers. So even the cushions, those need to be below that hinge line too. So finish up with any of that stuff. Now these dormers have latches on both sides. So the corners fold down first. You'll do that on both sides. And then I like to just get both of those out of the way. This one's the bigger of the two. So they give you a pull handle on this one, but once that's down, we can go ahead and pull this guy, kind of just to help what we're about to do on the outside. So at that time, we're going to pull both of these down, and then we're going to kind of be doing some bouncing back and forth from inside to outside. So we're going to come outside. We're going to finish putting the dormers down. Now we got these latches here. These latches are at their biggest point when we flatten them out. So once they're flat, we can go ahead and push that down. Same here for this guy. And sometimes they don't latch fully on the first try. You may have to move it over on the actual guy there. And we're going to do the exact same thing here up front. And then we're going to hop on the inside. So with these bigger A-liners, it's really important that you do both of the rear hatches or the rear latches first. So you do those. And then this wall comes down first. So we're going to undo that latch. And you have a little foot here, and this is going to help support that wall. So once you get that down, it should extend a little bit. Wow. So something like that, although it does look like it's free floating there, once we set that other wall on top of it, it's going to stiffen that up. So from there, I'm going to pop this latch loose, and that wall is free floating, but before I actually set it down, I do need to unlock or separate these doors from each other. And then I got to kind of hold this in that halfway position so it clears the top up here, and I allow that to come down around me. So from there, if it's just me setting one of these up, I'll pop everything loose from here on the inside. If you have a friend helping you, you guys can both kind of do it from the outside. But either way, our goal is to pop that top section loose up front. Then I can finish everything out from the outside here. Door does need to be closed. Both doors need to be closed in both directions there. And then I start here as far back as I can. I'm a short guy. Sometimes I need to go back further. So I get it, and then as soon as I can grab this other roof panel, I do. Push that down, and if everything's folded up how it should be on the inside, it's going to have no problem latching down. And then we're going to come over to the other side. And it looks like I accidentally shut this latch here in the door. That will happen from time to time. Probably not a bad idea to make sure you have everything out of the way before you let it down. But We don't have to go too far back, just undo that latch there. That will allow me to fish this out of here. And then go ahead and latch that one first. And then finish up with this one again. So quickly, I'm just going to go through that in reverse and show you how to put it up. So this will look very similar because we just saw it. So from there, it almost starts to kind of try and open up by itself, which is fine. You do want to be careful when you are putting it up in high wind. This angle here in this halfway position, this is going to be your most vulnerable point, because if you have a strong backwind coming from the rear, it's going to hit that front wall panel. And I've seen these where that front wall panel was totally folded over the tongue. So it is a real threat. You do want to be careful. When we're putting it up, we're looking to get that wall to click into place. So once it's firmly into place, it's not moving in any direction, you know you're in the right spot. So then we're going to finish up there on the inside. And just to clarify, the walls go up, when you're erecting it, the walls go up first and then the dormers up. When you're putting it down, the dormers go in first and then the walls come down. Helpful if you use the palm of your hand to kind of help these latches go into place. And again, we're going to do the both fronts. Put this leg back up there where it goes. We're going to do the 2 front latches, and then we're going to do the 2 rear latches. And again, it helps if you kind of got to help it with the palm of your hand. Again, the tolerances aren't exceptionally tight on these latches here. So then we're going to do the dormers, but we need to jump out and unlatch them first. And you'll kind of get used to that bouncing back and forth. Of course, you can take this opportunity to go ahead and lock those doors together. And we're going to come around the back side, do the same thing. That one likes to almost kick up and open by itself. So that one has gas struts on it. The front, for whatever reason, doesn't, but in any event, you're going to finish by pushing it forward, putting these sidewalls up, latching them down, and then we're going to do the very same thing up front. So once we get that main wall up, we put the 2 sidewalls up. These guys are out of the way. Probably would make sense to snap those back. And that's how you set it up. So we're fully set up. We could then go by and turn on lights, things like that. But that is the Aliner LXE. If you do have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Thank you.